President, along
Okay,
with counsel,
verdict.
defendant. Both sides ready to proceed. It's been brought to my attention that the jury has reached a verdict. State?
State's ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Defense?
Defense is ready.
To those in the gallery, please do not express any signs of approval or disapproval upon the reading of the verdict. Let's return to jury.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Dude, my heart is pounding. My guilty. Stop.
State recognized presence of the jury,
We do, Your Honor.
and does the defense.
Yes, sir, we do.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Have you reached the verdict? Would you hand the verdict form to the court deputy, please?
Oh my God. Say it already.
He's got to look at all the paperwork, make sure it's correct, and then he gives it to the clerk deputy, that lady that's right there, and she's the one who reads it.
Will the defendant rise along with counsel?
Guilty.
Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdicts.
Yes, Judge. In the Circuit Court for the Ninth Judicial Circuit in Orange County, Florida, State of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. As to case number 2008 CF 15606-0. As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, verdict as to count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, verdict as to count 5. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, verdict as to count 6. We, the jury, find the defendant We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, verdict is to count 7. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated Orlando, Orange County, Florida, the 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson.
Madam Clerk, you may poll the jury.
Juror number 1, were these your true and correct verdicts? Pardon? Juror number 1, were these your true and correct verdicts?
God, there's so much shit now.
Were they all your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 2, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Oh, the prosecution
Juror number 3, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Look at the prosecution.
Juror
They
number
look
4, were
pissed
these
off.
your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 5, were these your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 6, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 7, were these your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 8, were these your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 9, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 10, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 11, were these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
And juror number 12,
They haven't
were
given
these
their
your
shit,
true and correct
they got her
verdicts?
not
Yes.
guilty.
Thank you.
This bitch is gonna walk away and serve his
Well,
minimal fucking time
counsel,
for she'll
And
probably
defendant
fucking walk
approach
out
the
today.
podium. Not all the council, but just Representative Sample. Casey Marie Anthony, the jury of your peers, having found you not guilty as to the charge contained in count 1 of the indictment, murder in the first degree, at this time I will adjudge you to be not guilty. As to count 2, the crime of aggravated child abuse, a jury of your peers having found you to be not guilty, the court will adjudge you to be not guilty of the crime contained in count 2. As to count 3, aggravated manslaughter of a child, a jury of your peers having found you not guilty, I will adjudge you to be not guilty of that count. As to counts 4, 5, 6, and 7, providing false information to a law enforcement officer, I will adjudge you to be guilty of those counts in order that you be fingerprinted here in open court at this time. That's been open court. Okay, Mr. Baez, Mr. Mason, will you be prepared to go to sentencing Thursday or Friday of this week?
Thursday. How are you about it?
Okay, then we'll set sentencing Thursday at 9 a.m. in this courtroom. Okay, are there any other matters that we need to take up at this time?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on behalf of the citizens of the 9th Judicial Circuit, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation for your service as jurors. You all are residents of Pinellas County, Florida, and we came over there, met with you, questioned you, and took you away from your families for a very extended period of time. And for that, I say thank you. As I told you when I first spoke with you, in talking about jury service, that one of the most important obligations of citizenship, in my opinion, was service on a jury. I told you it was very important that if we believe in that constitutional provision that provides a right to trial by jury, that it was important for people to serve no matter what that sacrifice would be. As you can tell by some of the questions that some folks answered, a lot of people did not want to serve. You knew it would be a hardship, and you were candid with the attorneys. You answered all their questions, and you served. And for that, we thank you. I would also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and vote shall remain their private affairs as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about your jury work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious or from those who might seek to find fault with you. From the media, from attorneys, or elsewhere, it will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as jurors. Again, thank you. You're hereby discharged, and I will see you shortly back in the jury room. Thank you. You may be seated. This court is in recess.
You have watched live here on Channel 9, Casey Anthony, not guilty on all the most serious charges. Look at the emotion inside the courtroom. Dorothy Clay Sims hugging Casey Anthony. Bill Schaefer, your reaction.
Well, this is a very fine day for the defense. Obviously, the defense team is just elated. And the prosecution, the looks on their faces tell it all. They're crushed. Law enforcement, all the investigators, everyone associated with the state attorney's office is absolutely, positively just crushed and devastated by this verdict. And you have to believe that the state of Florida has nothing to be ashamed of. The state of Florida, through these attorneys, presented one of the most powerful circumstantial evidence cases that I've witnessed in my 35 years as an attorney. But it always comes down to the jury. Might another jury have gone a different way? Yes, that is a possibility. But the state of Florida, the investigators, everyone connected with the prosecution on this case did a first-rate job and presented all the evidence to the jury that they could possibly present in the most professional manner that this evidence could be presented. They have nothing to hang their head about, except I am sure that they believe, as many people of the 190,000 that were on